Good morning and welcome to Living Local 15. I'm Jessica Williams. Thanks for joining me. We are kicking off the show at the Fort Wayne Museum of Art and exploring their new muralist exhibit featuring the Allen County Courthouse. Then Hoosier Shuttle joins me in studio to share about their comfy rideshare services they provide from Fort Wayne to Indy. And it's Women's Wealth Wednesday with Foster Financial, and Caleb is here to give us some holistic financial planning advice. That and more happening now.
Fashion, food, and fun. You're watching Living Local 15 with your host, Jessica Williams.
An American Renaissance in Fort Wayne, muralist from the Allen County Courthouse is what you can experience here at the Fort Wayne Museum of Art. They have a brand new exhibit, and I'm going to talk to their co-curators about what you can experience, and I'm taking you on the inside. Let's do it. Joining me now is Robin, the Executive Director at the Allen County Courthouse Preservation Trust, and Sachi, who is the curator of prints and drawings here at the Art Museum. Hello, ladies.
Hi, thanks for having us.
Yes, so this is so cool to explore the muralist of the Allen County Courthouse and just really taking us on this journey throughout this exhibit. So can you start by sharing with me why you all decided to give this to us?
One of the reasons this exhibit is so special is we were able to acquire an original study from Charles Holloway. Charles Holloway painted the murals in the rotunda that you see daily when you walk in there. The study would have been what he used to create those murals, and we were able to acquire one a couple years ago.
Yes, that's so cool. So by acquiring this study, it is actually some of the original artwork that was inspired or that was used to create the murals. Is that correct?
That's right. It's a gridded study. It's a watercolor. And so this would have been the same images in the same scale, and similar colors would have been used at the time.
That's so cool. And as you put together, you're a co-curator of this exhibit. How did you decide what pieces to bring in from history to make it all come to life?
It makes it difficult when you're dealing with specific murals, and we were able to not only we had the one here in Fort Wayne, but we borrowed a number of works from the Memphis Brooks Museum. Initially they were going to be on loan to us, but they turned around and made it a donation, so they'll be here with us forever. And those are by another muralist at the courthouse, Carl Gutierrez.
That's so cool. And let's talk about a little bit of the history and how this all started, really, because when you think about a courthouse, you're like, okay, is there historic value in art, within the walls? But this was something that was started a long time ago when they started, I think it was the Congress Library, who originally started putting in really cool art pieces and kind of making it more attractive to the eye, and this kind of carried on. So share with us the historical aspect of having these pieces at the Allen County Courthouse.
I think the Midwest was lucky to have these artists here at the time, but also our architect, Brentwood Tolan, was an artist himself. And so he called for artwork in this courthouse. And it's, we have one of probably the most special courthouses, I think, in the United States. But also the artwork was valued at about $42 million a couple of years ago. So There's not only murals in there, but there's scagliola, stained glass domes, encaustic tile floors. So it's rich with history and art.
Yes.
So this is only the tip of the iceberg, the muralists, in addition to all these other art forms.
And bringing in culture just from the 1900s is just so cool to see. So as people walk around this exhibit and as they read and learn and really just absorb each of the pieces, what can they expect?
I think what's interesting is that there's different examples where you start to see the artists working on some sort of thought, some sort of composition, and maybe in the course of like 4 drawings he figures out this is the way I want it to look. So you have very rudimentary drawings to pretty finished drawings. So you can start to see the working process of the artist.
That is, that's so cool. And I know that there are two artists in particular that are featured throughout this exhibit, and I see that you all have a timeline that really takes you on this journey. So can you explain the timeline?
Well, it starts with Carl Gutierrez, because obviously he's the older artist. He and Charles Holloway did overlap with each other. They were both in St. Louis. They just spanned different careers. Gutierrez was more of an easel painter, and Charles Holloway was more of the muralist and stained glass, and they came together in Fort Wayne. And so the timeline highlights a lot of their moments where they, received fame for what they were working on.
Yes, yes. And Robin, as the executive director of the Preservation Trust, what does this mean to you? Like to have, this museum feature your courthouse in this way, how does it feel?
Well, we love the Fort Wayne Museum of Art, and they've been great friends and great collaborators of ours. So to see artwork taken from the courthouse and on exhibit, I mean, Sachi knows, I almost cried when I walked into the gallery because it is so special. And then the guests can walk in and experience it on a face-to-face level and read a little bit more, learn a little bit more about the artist and the architect of the Allen County Courthouse.
That's wonderful. And Sachi, can you share about the lecture that is coming and that will be in collaboration to just take this whole exhibit to the next level that the community can attend?
Yeah, so this is part of we're launching the Mastrangelo lecture series. It's a new series, and we've invited Dr. Mark Mitchell. He's a curator at the Yale Museum of Art, and he's the specialist in this time period. And he's working on an exhibition focusing on the human form, but especially in preparatory studies for murals. And so during this time period, so you really can't get anything more similar than that. So.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, ladies, for sharing more about this exhibit and opening it up for the community.
Thank you very much.
Yes. If you would like more information about this new exhibit here at the Fort Wayne Museum of Art, we'll have their website listed below, and I'll see you after the break.
Have an idea for the show? Want to find out how you can be a guest? Contact us at livinglocal15@wayne.com.
The Hoosier Shuttle offers trips from Fort Wayne to Indy in a 12-seat passenger van. And I'm so excited to speak with their owner, Dave, today about their services. Hi, Dave.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So you offer these comfortable trips from city to city for people who are just traveling, have business, affairs going on. Share more about your shuttle.
All different kinds of purposes for our travelers, primarily personal travel or business travel. We do a lot of things in Indianapolis for the hospitals. We do a lot of college kids that we deliver and pick up for around the holidays. So it's a very interesting segment of different people that use us, but we go 4 or 5 times every single day from Fort Wayne to Indianapolis. Primarily Indy is where we go.
Yeah.
We drop off at the airport, and we also go downtown, and then there's 3 or 4 different places around Indianapolis that we can drop off as well. So
okay. Yeah.
Very busy.
Right. Exactly. I know that you said that you have about 6 vehicles.
I do.
Vans.
Yeah.
And so what made you start this business of transportation?
Well, this business was born back in 2008 by a woman that lived here with her husband. They were Fort Wayne residents, and they were business owners. And this woman, she needed a ride to Indy. And at that time, there was no services that provided transportation for people that just needed a ride back down to Indy and back to Fort Wayne. So she started the company. And she started with 1 van and started talking to a lot of people in the area and all along the 69 corridor from Fort Wayne to Indianapolis, Hartford City, Muncie, Anderson, and started working some things. And she really built momentum for this company. And I was just lucky enough to take a ride with them about 3 years ago. And afterwards, I dropped an email into the mailbox and connected with her. And I said, hey, if you're ever interested in selling or partnering with this company, I had a great experience. I'd love for you to connect with me. So about 2 years later, she called me, and she was actually ready to sell. She was living in Texas, and we got together and I bought it 2 years ago this week.
Wow.
So I'm a previous business owner in Fort Wayne. I had another company, a couple of other companies in Fort Wayne for the last 30 years. And I just felt like it had a lot of traction, and it was a very, just a really easy, specific service to offer people.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, well, congratulations on
Thanks.
your 2
Thanks so
years.
much.
That's really
Appreciate
exciting. And so share more about how people can utilize the service. Is this a ride share program or
It is.
private rental only?
It is a rideshare company. Our vehicles, they take as many as 12 people at a time. And the way that it works is you can either go online to HoosierShuttle.com and make a reservation and get all the information for all the pickup and drop-off locations that we offer. Or you can call our phone number, which is on the website, a couple of different ones. And a lot of people do that because they have specific questions about where they want to go and what time the shuttles run. But to answer your question, it's a ride share, and we'll take as many as 8 or 9 or 10 people at a time down to the airport for their flights. Then from there, we may go to downtown because they may have appointments downtown. We go to the hospitals, we go to the colleges, all different types of things. And these people all go together. And then we stay for about a half hour to an hour down there, and then we have a return trip. And we bring people that are flying in, and then we pick them up from there, and we come back to Fort Wayne.
Nice.
And we do that typically 4 times a day, anytime from 5 a.m. until 8 o'clock at night. And it works well because, number one, people can drive to our lot where we are, and we offer free parking. They can leave their vehicle there as long as they need. They jump on the shuttle and we take them down. And you can work on the shuttle, you can do whatever you want. It's just convenient.
Right. And so what really differentiates you from other services? Like, are you the only shuttle service that offers this particular type of amenities?
Yeah, so there's a lot of people that call me last minute, and then when we're talking on the phone, they ask that question. And it really, yes. I mean, I don't know of another company that provides a ride share for a reasonable price that frequently every day.
Right.
The only other option that I tell people when they do need a ride, or if we can't help them, is to call an Uber or a taxi, or they rent a car. And car rentals are pretty erratic, and sometimes they can be pricey, but that is an option for people. But yeah, I think what differentiates us really is that particular service, is pretty special. But we also have just an amazing group of guys that drive for me. And that is just one of the reasons I bought the company.
Yeah.
In this environment where so many companies have so much difficulty hiring people and being committed to it, it's a great experience for people, you know. 100% of the time, maybe not, but we try our best to get as close to that as we can for people. So.
Right. That's really cool, actually, because I sometimes look at different flights when I'm going out to decide which airline I want to fly. Depends on if you're flying out of Fort Wayne or out of Indianapolis.
Right.
And I think about that drive down. I'm like, I want to drive that couple of hours down and back. But that sounds good if you can work and multitask while you're on that commute, and then be able to catch a different flight. So
it's very
convenient.
Really cool. We absolutely don't want to take anything away from our community. Fort Wayne Airport is fantastic.
Yes, it is.
And it's just that we get a lot of people from all over the country. The connection we were talking about earlier is kind of amazing. I mean, this morning I got calls from Hilo, Hawaii. I got calls from Maine. We get calls from overseas. The connection that people have from all over the entire country to Fort Wayne, Indiana, I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And when they come in, they may not know where they're going, and sometimes it's better for them to fly into Indy, and then we get them home safely. So,
well, that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's primarily what makes it enjoyable is to help people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, thank you so much, Dave, for sharing more. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Absolutely. I sure appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yes. And if you would like more information about the Hoosier Shuttle, we'll have their website listed below, and I'll see you after the break.
Follow us on social media at Living Local 15.
This
This segment sponsored by Foster Financial. It's time for Women's Wealth Wednesday, where we discuss financial topics that impact women and give you the tools for success. And joining me is the Vice President of Foster Financial, Caleb Doan. Hi, Caleb.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thanks very much.
Yes. Okay, so over the past month, we've been talking about women who possibly will retire before men in their households. And you've been giving us so much good advice on step-by-step of things that they should consider. So today we're going to kind of recap it and kind of reiterate some of this stuff. So please share with me what the topic will be.
Yeah, exactly. I know we kind of talked about that phenomenon that typically women are retiring a few years earlier than men. And so I often see this sort of in my practice too, where a wife will be retiring maybe 2 or 3 years before her husband. And so there's this kind of odd gap where one of them is retired, one is still working, and it's a big financial change. And so one of the key things that we've been talking about over the past few weeks is income planning during that time. Because of course the biggest change that happens when you retire is you no longer have that paycheck every 2 weeks. And so we talked about probably 3, key things to think about with income planning. And so I really just wanted to sort of quickly recap those and go over any questions that maybe we didn't touch on. And so the first one was, when do I take Social Security? That's typically the biggest question.
Such a good question. I must say it was very impactful. I think that so many of our viewers learned a lot from that, and the conversation I've been hearing has been happening like, oh wow, like I should really consider this early. It's not something just to wait and it kind of rolls in. So yes, please share more about that.
Yeah, definitely. I know we talked about how you can take it as early as 62, you can delay it as late as 70, but there's a whole, kind of factor to consider there. And one of the biggest factors is your health, actually, to consider when to take Social Security. Of course, if you take it earlier, you have more years to collect it. If you take it later, you get a slightly higher benefit. And so there's kind of a break-even point. But of course, you have to live to that break-even point for it to be worth it. And so that's a big factor that we consider. Probably the second one that we talked about was potentially working part-time in retirement. Because of course, if you're retired but your husband is still working, you don't feel like you're fully retired sometimes because you can't just go travel the world or anything. He's still got to be at work on Monday or whatever it might be. So sometimes people talk about working part-time in retirement too. And if you take Social Security before the full retirement age, which is often 67, then there's only a certain amount that you're allowed to make before they start reducing your Social Security.
Right, that was interesting. Discussing that, like, wow, okay, so what are your limitations? And that kind of goes to when someone should take it. Like if you are wanting to wait to get the highest payout, working part-time, like retiring, you can still retire, work part-time, but just not receive the Social Security benefits yet. Right,
okay, exactly. So that's certainly a strategy that we often employ for people, which is really good. And then I think the last one that we talked about for income planning was when to turn on your pension, and more specifically, what pension payout to take. Because I think a lot of people almost don't realize there are a couple options until they actually retire. And so this is something that impacts a lot of public school teachers in the area, firefighters, policemen, and a few of the main options. On one end of the spectrum, you have that straight life or single life pension that just pays out for your life, and then when you pass away, it's done. And then on the other end of the spectrum is that 100% joint and survivor payout strategy, where it pays out for all of your life and all of your spouse's life, and then when both of you pass away, it's done.
So actually, can I ask a follow-up on that? So what would make someone choose the single or the joint? Is it just determined if they are married or not?
So not quite. There's a lot of factors that will go into it. Sometimes even people who are married will choose the straight life option. For example, if you have, maybe a wife who's younger than her husband and she's expecting to outlive him, maybe he has more of a complicated health history, maybe her parents lived to be 100 years old and she's expecting to live for a long time. She doesn't want to take the reduced benefit and cover her spouse by the 100% joint survivor because she thinks, hey, I'm probably not going to get any added benefit from that because I'm going to outlive my husband anyways.
Okay, so it gets reduced, so the amount goes down. Okay, I see.
Exactly, yeah, the straight life, the single life is going to be the highest monthly benefit amount. If you choose to cover a spouse, basically the pension company is saying, hey, there's a higher likelihood that we're going to have to pay out more money now because we're covering 2 people's lives.
Right.
And so they'll reduce the amount. And so we'll take a look at that. And in some circumstances, it makes sense for the single life. Sometimes it makes sense for the 100% joint survivor. But the key is once you choose it, it's locked in forever.
Locked in, okay.
Yeah, you can't turn around and change it. So it's a big choice that we like to help people with.
Yes, and when it comes to several tasks that need to be done to prepare for the future, I think that people feel that they have time and like, oh, I'll handle it later. But financial planning is really important, right? So can you share why it's important to start thinking about it and actually taking actions right now?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of times when people start retirement planning, it's kind of along their working journey. You know, they start a new job and they just say, hey, I'm going to contribute 8% to my 401k or whatever it might be. It's kind of throwing darts at a wall essentially with what they think. But when you're 4 or 5 years out from retirement, we can get a lot more, I guess, mathematical with it and say, hey, if you expect to spend this much in retirement, we actually need you to save 11% for the next few years. And so once you're 5 or 6 years out from retirement, it's a wonderful time to start this retirement planning process, financial planning process, because since we're so close, you know, we can really get pretty mathematical with it and say, hey, this is the exact amount you need to save.
Yeah, that's good. 5 to 6 years, okay. And then those who are starting their career knowing these options too, because it's like, maybe I need a job that offers a pension. Maybe I need a job that will match the 401k and all of that.
Yeah.
So good stuff.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you so much, Caleb.
Yeah, you
we
bet.
appreciate it. And Foster Financial is here to help women plan for retirement. So if you have any questions, you can contact them for a complimentary consultation. We'll have their number listed below, and we'll be right back. This segment sponsored by Foster Financial.
Living Local 15, proudly driven by the Kelly Automotive Group.
Well, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And while you're out, give a little smile, give a little wave, share a little light and love today. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. And I look forward to seeing you here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Content segments during today's Living Local 15 were paid for by these sponsors.